Ladies and gentlemen, our good friend Satan was once relegated to, heavy metal concerts, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, gay pride parades, whatever. The fun things in life that I enjoy, but something tragic has happened recently, and apparently now, if I want to be in league with, the dark forces of the universe, I have to start watching football, which I don't really want to do. I find, I've said this before, live sporting events where you're actually there are pretty amusing, whether or not, you're that into it. Now, the ones with a little bit more razzle-dazzle are more fun. When I was really young, my dad would get tickets to see the North Stars play hockey because I'm very old. They used to be what the hockey team in Minnesota was called. And I don't know if he got them from work or, I don't know, he liked hockey, whatever. He'd take me to hockey games. I never played hockey. I didn't enjoy anything that resembled anything near hockey or baseball or anything in gym class. Shockingly, I wasn't one of those kids. The only fun irony was that I was a lot bigger than everyone else from a pretty young age. So, when the sports kids would pick on me, I would just push them down. As was the way the universe went. But yeah, didn't super enjoy any of that. Broomball was kind of fun because no one was good at it. If you had to play real hockey, the kid that skated in his spare time and played hockey all the time would just win over everybody. It was no fun and stupid. Broomball, that kid did no better than anybody else. You just had to run around in your fucking shoes on ice and fall down and hit each other with the brooms, or at least that's something we sort of added, I think, when I was in 8th grade. Oh, my wife is calling. Let's answer the phone. Hello, honey, you're on the podcast. Hi, I was just talking about how everybody's saying that the Super Bowl was satanic, and that's really frustrating for me because now, if I want to be in league with the Dark Lord, I have to start watching football, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you also would have to gain at least 20 more pounds.
Yeah,
and get a truck.
Yeah, and I don't want a truck. I just bought a smaller car on purpose, which was a lot more fun to drive home through the terror of the first snow this year than it would have been to drive a giant-ass truck.
That is true. I'm doing that right now, so I was just going to say, I'm on my way. I'll see you soon.
All right, I love you, baby.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. So anyway, yeah, that was the intro of the podcast twice because I had to explain it to my wife. Anyways, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to make something clear here. I'm not one of those enjoy your sports ball, idiot guys, but I also just don't care. It's possible to not care about things. And this is something that I think that, more people maybe need to get into a little bit where, I can go, I don't really care about sports, and be like, oh, so you hate sports and you wish that no one could watch them or play them. I'm like, no, that's not what not caring is. That's needing therapy and having this hatred because you got picked on in school. And I understand, as I said earlier, the one thing I had going for me was I had about 6 inches and 20 pounds on most of the fucking kids I went to school with, even the athletes. So if you were a scrawny dork instead of sort of a big, mean dork like I was, you could have enough emotional damage where you just hate sports because the sports kids always sports you up real good. And they're boring, unless you're gambling, which you should do because gambling is fun. And that brings me to my point. It's I'll go out to, if someone's like, hey, I got tickets to a basketball game, do you want to go? And I'll be like, yeah, that'll be fun. But I am going to drink a gallon of beer, and I'm not going to pay very good attention. I'm going to watch the guys running around. And again, everything's a little bit more fun in real life. That's, I think, a thing that people kind of miss out on. I would never really sit and watch a video recording of a symphony orchestra play. That'd be weird. That's I don't even think my grandpa would do that, but I would go to one, where they do the ooh, they're going to play the John Williams theme while they show Star Wars on a screen, and being there and hearing all those instruments going and stuff. It's that's, You can feel the music. The acoustics are really good. You're there. It's fun. But you would never watch it on TV. You would never sit there and talk about it for 4 fucking hours at some, at a housewarming party where you're the only dude not talking to all the other dudes because they didn't talk about anything aside from baseball for 1 second the entire time because there's nothing else to talk about. I mean, I can kind of hang with cars and guns a little bit. Like eventually someone's going to be like, you don't know that much, but then existentialism, maybe personal finance. I'm not very exciting either, but I'm just saying no one wants to, I would go to a monster truck rally. I wouldn't, unless I was like younger than 6 years old. I couldn't imagine going like, and then, Gravedigger actually became the #1 truck over Bigfoot when he ran over the most cars. And, I think Bigfoot's going to come back. And again, unless you have money on it, what is the point of that conversation? And by the way, I think we should probably start gambling on monster truck rallies. I think that might be my $1 million idea that is yet untapped. But that's the thing. Sports are full of like gambling and drinking, and those are like the fun parts of it. The athletes, buy prostitutes and hit people and stuff. Like that's fun. But for some reason, all of a sudden now everyone is conflating the devil with sports, but he's been there all along. The devil was in Wade Boggs' heart when he drank 50 beers on that flight that they reenacted in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The devil was there with O.J. Simpson when he made those Naked Gun movies. Like, it's just, Satan has been involved in sports probably more than rock and roll pound for pound, and certainly more than Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's a good source of virgins to sacrifice, I guess, but that's more of a vampire thing. I don't think the devil wants you to be a virgin or likes. I think he wants you to fuck, and that's the problem people have with him. But yeah, and the interesting thing is I was like seeing, it was like I watched the Super Bowl. By the way, I intended to watch the Nickelodeon simulcast of the Super Bowl, and it wouldn't work, and it was so frustrating because I think at this point, some are shared and some are ours, but we have all of the streaming things. I don't think there's a single thing on TV that we can't watch. And also, we are both, gainfully employed and have no children. So when it's like, this movie's not on anything, we got to pay $3. It's like, yeah, I made $3 when I got up to take a whiz for like 10 minutes at work. It's fine. We're all going to live. Everybody, we can watch Mission Impossible 2 or whatever the hell. But one thing we don't have, I guess, is just regular ass old fashioned cable. It's like, well, I have Paramount Plus, which has Nickelodeon on it. And on Nickelodeon, they were running the Nickelodeon where like SpongeBob is announcing the Super Bowl or whatever the fuck they were going to do. Cause that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do drugs and watch that. Because that's funny. Like, my wife and I both agreed that would be the way to spend a Sunday where we didn't particularly want to leave the house. But yeah, like, I could watch the regular Super Bowl on Paramount Plus, but not the Nickelodeon one. You couldn't do it. There was nowhere to be found. And then the internet was like, oh, you got to like sign up for this thing called Freeboo or Boo. It's not Tubi or Free. It was like a totally different thing I never heard of. And I tried to do that and it froze every single time. Probably because everyone in the universe was doing it all at once. All of those people like me and everyone sane that isn't just paying for like a cable package, just has Nickelodeon on their TV like it's 1998. I mean, good for you, but it seemed like just a dirty trick. I got all excited for it. I didn't do like homework ahead of time because why the fuck would you? It's like Nickelodeon is going to be doing a thing. Let's see, do I have Nickelodeon on one of these things? Oh, I sure do. Okay, case closed. This is the work of the devil. To stymie me before I dig into a bunch of chicken wings. Ugh. So I had to watch the regular one, which, yeah, people are always like the Super Bowl is boring, but it's all boring if you don't care. It's all, like, I missed the first part because I was trying to watch it on Nickelodeon. The first thing I guess everyone was mad about was there's like a black national anthem now or something. which to me, that's just fun. I mean, is it, I don't want to say it's divisive like it's a bad thing. It just seems like one more thing where it's like, hey, let's start making up more differences rather than coming together. But I'm not, let me make it clear, I'm not mad about it. It's great. Again, it's probably better than the regular national anthem, which kind of sucks. You know, it's kind of like, you know, black gospel Baptist church, you know, like white Baptist church sucks. But, you know, the black one where everyone's wearing like, everybody's dressed like Prince's grandma and just singing and yelling and like, you know, if I had to choose, that's the one I would go to. And the only frustrating thing is I might be a little bit out of place because I'm a white guy. They'd be like, go to regular church. I'm like, well, regular church is stupid, so I'm just not going to go to church at all. And perhaps I will become in league with the devil. But yeah, you know, that's just good, clean fun. Complaining about that is obviously, we know who's doing that and it's stupid. But the other thing, one of the other things that was kind of, I find to be interesting and fun is that there's those commercials and they're called like He Gets Us or something. And it's from this weird Jesus organization. And they do all this stuff where they interestingly depict Jesus accurately. Where, you know, if you really look at what the original gospels and teachings and stuff are, it's like they come off more like Buddhism or a lot of, it's strangely similar to all the good parts that are sometimes hidden in many other religions. It's almost as if there's kind of this one idea of like, hey, you know, maybe you shouldn't discriminate against people or whatever, which of course made certain people really mad, which is just insane. They're like, Jesus wasn't woke. He didn't say it was okay for immigrants to come into your land or whatever. It's like, he definitely did. But even if he didn't, the interesting thing about that is the organization doing that He Gets Us or whatever, they donate like tens of millions of dollars to like cruel anti-LGBT, like not even like, we don't want you teaching kids about it in school, which again, it's a real thing. If something's happening, you should probably learn about it. That's kind of my stance on a lot of stuff. It's like they're gonna have to learn about that and how to do taxes. I mean, all these things they leave out. But no, it's not them being like, well, you know, I don't want it in school. It's actually like they're donating to things that do like conversion therapy and stuff that like fucks people up and drives them to suicide and stuff. Like terrible, like the Hobby Lobby type shit, you know, where they're trying to strip women's rights and gay people's rights to just kind of exist or whatever. Yeah, tens of millions of dollars. It's a horrible organization. They're just, church numbers are really low because everyone's not buying it anymore. And they're this thing where they're trying to like get people that are a little center left to kind of go like, oh, well, you know, it'll be nice to belong to something or whatever. And they think they'll be like, oh, we got you, even though no one becomes religious unless it's drilled into them when they're a little kid. Literally, Joseph Stalin proved that once you're 13, your worldview is kind of set. And I have so many people I know, they're like, no, I went to the church when I was older. It's like, oh, so you weren't raised in the church at all? They're like, well, no, we went every 2 times a week and everything. But I got into Slipknot for like 3 years and I like kind of stopped. And then when I was 22, I like saw the light or whatever because I got bored or was doing drugs or something. I'm like, that doesn't count. And everyone always tries that. I'm like, no. I mean, to someone like me who wasn't raised going to church, except for like for funerals for old people and the occasional wedding, and church was used as a threat. Like, we're going to start going to church if you don't shape up. So I'm like, like I knew I didn't like it when I was a kid. It seemed silly and dumb because it kind of, look, the sense of community is fine. If you're really taking the real lessons from this and not, you know, protesting soldiers' funerals and trying to strip people of their rights, fine, have fun. It's all good. And spirituality in general, it's a fine thing. You know, it's a big universe, Morty. There's a lot out there. You know, I feel it myself sometimes. But you know, the whole organizational aspect of it is full of nonsense and bad things, and that organization is kind of a bad thing. But the hilarious thing is that the people whose side they're supposed to be on, right? They're funding all this horrible stuff against everyone that's different. You know, they're trying to trick people into going to church, and all kind of like conservative religious people are like, oh, look at that, Jesus washing people's feet like some kind of homo, like, they're all pissed about it. And then everybody like kind of like more like me perhaps is pissed about it because we like looked into it and we're like, oh, this organization is kind of fucked up or whatever. And what a perfect sort of divining rod for exactly how everything is. Like, some people got mad because they fell for the the false front part of it and they don't look into things. And some people got mad because we actually kind of thought about it and figured it out. We're like, wait a minute, this isn't good. And it's, you know, it never ceases to be the same thing when it comes to who is who in that. Like, which side kind of like doesn't think or look at stuff. I don't know. I'm not being mean to anyone in particular, except for everyone who is bitching about that, which is, I mean, I have Facebook. I see what you do on there. So anyway, that was funny. That was kind of like strike 2 or 1.5 maybe or whatever. Like, people were the people who would benefit from this thing's evil or whatever, they'd be happy to see it, were like fooled by the message they're trying to trick everyone who is too smart to fall for it with. Like, I don't know, it's this fucking just a ruberous of stupid, but, you know, they spent a lot of money on that. Good for them, you know. So what else? What was the next thing? I'm going to wait until Chris is going to join me and we're going to talk about the Kennedy ad. That was one thing. But that didn't make it on the roster of things that dumbasses were bitching about and attributing to the power of Satan. One of the next thing was that I saw was a ton of people complaining that Taylor Swift was chugging beer. Now, again, this is sports. It's, you know, it's like everyone's played a little softball with the neighborhood folks, you know, even me. It's easy, you know, but that one's fun because, you know, if you get to, you know, second base, you chug a beer, a home run, you chug a beer. Let's see, like a strikeout is that you chug a beer, and the fourth inning is the beer inning. You know how to play softball. Like, it's just this drunken mess that literally anybody can do. You know, it's like the only thing easier is kickball, but you know, yeah, we should start playing kickball. Me and some people, but we're gonna have to be very drunk while doing it. But that's not the point. Well, actually, it kind of is. You tailgate. Chugging beer is like the thing with football or sports in general, but kind of like especially football. It's like nobody really like tailgates a hockey game. You know, it's like everybody there is drunk, but not like football drunk. Like, football is disorderly, you know, that's the whole point. And there's like people on the social medias and the talking heads and stuff going like, you know, public drunkenness is inappropriate and whatever. And they work Trump into it, of course, which is incredible because like he's sober, which by the way, no, he isn't. Like, oh, he doesn't drink, but like he does fucking more Adderall and cocaine than I do. And you don't get a body like that from super clean living. Like, that's, you know, you don't end up incontinent from, you know, I don't know. It's like just everything but booze, you know, like California's sober. It's just weed, mushrooms, ketamine, you know, prescription Adderall, the benzos, of course, help me go to sleep. You know, it's like, okay, you're not sober. You're on drugs and whatever. But, you know, generally speaking, yeah, I know that weed is probably the safest thing. But honestly, beer, it's really hard to get out of control on beer. There's really not, like, I drink beer to sober up sometimes, like, depending on what it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it rehydrates me a little bit. It could probably, you know, pass a driving test. You know, you have a little whiskey, and then you have, you know, a little beer. Like, just to take the edge off towards the end there. Get back to normal. You know, so, you know, Taylor Swift, and also, if people are annoyed with Taylor Swift for being some sort of like feminist weirdo or like a boring like pop star, it's like, I don't know, isn't like chugging beer and screaming endearing more? I don't know. Like, some of her songs are like fine. Most of it I don't care about. And again, I don't care. It's like, do I hate her? No, because I never hear any music I don't want to hear. If you're still in that situation somehow, you have fucked up so bad. Like, either you, I don't know, like work in retail, or you're too old to understand that for $2 a year, you could just have they'll send you free speakers in the mail to put in your house, and you can just decide whatever it is that you want to listen. You don't have to fucking just watch cable TV. It's like, oh, the Taylor Swift song on this commercial. Like, yeah, I don't. You pay for not to have the commercial. You know, you believe in the free market and capitalism, right? Well, you know, You take some of that money and stop watching commercials and stop having to hear music you don't like. How the fuck can you possibly just be bombarded with something like that enough to hate it? I don't know. Like, maybe you have a friend that listens to it, but people that bitch about this kind of thing certainly don't have any friends, or else they wouldn't be on the internet complaining about, like, you know, how much beer like a boring pop star drinks at a fucking football game. Like, that doesn't say, hi, I have like a really healthy social network or have ever been to therapy or anything. That's not what that is. So yeah, that was something somebody found fault with. And again, what I'm leading up to here is like, I'm just listing off the reasons people are giving for the Super Bowl being controlled by the devil or whatever. Like, that's the point of my short little one-man show here that I think I'm going to stick to a half hour because it is Valentine's Day and I gotta make some steaks for my lady who I think just came home. But it's unbelievable. And I guess maybe it's sexist or whatever, because if you're like a big fat party animal, you can chug beer. Oh, but it also can't be Bud Light. And that was the other thing. It's like, oh, Post Malone and all the Bud Light because of all of that stuff. I'm a little disappointed in Budweiser, I guess, because I do really wish they would have doubled down. I had a comedy bit about it that is strangely done well and very unexpectedly done horribly, where I really wanted them to have a Super Bowl commercial where it was just two very large gender non-conforming people that are just everything that people that live in the country think when they think of a stereotype of that, just in this just brutal ass-eating 69, just farting in each other's mouths and stuff, and then it's just silence, you know. You hear the sounds of love making, but no music or voiceover, and at the end it just says Budweiser. That's right. You should have kept your fucking mouth shut. And every once in a while I would do that joke, I'd stretch it out and make it pretty funny or whatever. But instead they just, what did they even do? I don't remember, actually. See, this is why I need somebody else here. By the way, Chris and I were actually going to do a couple of episodes of the podcast in a row, but he has a sinus infection. Not from snorting drugs, I don't think, but from whatever. So he couldn't make it. But we have specific things that him and I are going to touch on. But being that now I have not someone else here, and I didn't really pay very much attention to anything. I don't remember whatever it was about Bud Light, but I definitely know it wasn't like a weird, non-binary, homoerotic, orgy, and that's a shame. I feel like maybe rubbing it in would have just been the better thing to do. I don't know. Like, it's... By the way, I like Post Malone a lot. He's fun. He's a fun guy. His music's fine, but, if Taylor Swift was more like Post Malone, maybe people wouldn't hate on her so much. But maybe that's why she's chugging beer and banging a football man. Like, I don't know, just trying. Give the bitch some credit. Yeah, let's see. What was the other... There was like another... Oh, yeah, it wasn't like a big thing, I guess. But it was like so old-fashioned and typical. Ice Spice, who I learned what looks like basically during... I'd heard the name. So one of the glassblowers at work, Ty, is a big fan of every sort of like Krayshawn and Katy Perry, and he'll go to anything weird and pop with a girl in it, and Ice Spice is a new thing like that. I think he said him and his family went to got like the box seats at something to go watch Ice Spice play with somebody. I don't know, but she has an orange afro, and there's like a pumpkin spice joke to probably hanging in the air there that no one's made. But like she went like that or something at some point, and they're like, she's making satanic symbols. And once again, one, that's kind of tired and stupid, but two, that's also been like a football thing forever. I don't know if like anybody ever seen this, but it might have been like a Texas Longhorns thing or whatever, but I specifically remember there being people on TV and that I've seen who are like, I'm giving them the horns, they're like doing, or giving them, it's like good luck or something. I'm sure this means probably originally something besides, like Satan or metal or blah, or whatever it stands for now. It was probably something, good luck, kind of how, there was like pre-World War II, there was, Lucky Charms had swastikas in it or whatever. Like it was just another one of those little charmy symbol-y shapes until someone, went a little off the rails with it there for a while. Gotta wreck that one, but I don't know. Someday the horseshoe or the clover might also be used by a hateful genocidal regime, and that'll be a real shame. That'll be very limiting. But anyhow, yeah, the meanings for things change. I don't, or like, damn it, doesn't this mean like, ouch? God, I can't move my hand like that. This means like love in sign language or something. And this is what surfers do. And then there's 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. Which also, if I'm being 100% honest, if you're trying to be edgy, wouldn't wouldn't this be better? Like that would be, give him the old double shocker. Like this is just, it's like an 80s hair metal thing. Like it doesn't. Or if they were just flipping if like she was sitting there like give everybody the finger, like there's a lot better way. There's better things to maybe get mad about if someone was being unhinged like that or whatever, and like oh, the children will see. But I don't know. I'm physically getting tired sitting here. I wanted to look if there's anything else anything was bitching about, because again, I'm going to keep this short and I only have a few minutes. Yeah, there's Jesus was too woke. I wrote down some notes here. Travis Kelce's pregame outfit. Something about, some guy was dressed effeminately or whatever. Oh yeah, there was something about the vaccine or something. I don't fucking know. Like all I heard about that is like somebody who did take it was like kicking ass, and someone who didn't actually got injured, and they're like, wow, it's still causing all these heart attacks and stuff, which there's no evidence of. It's actually like, the real thing is that it's just like super predictable, and I Maybe this is a grand conspiracy that actually does have legs to a degree or something, you know what I mean? Like maybe they're trying to make Satan lame. You know what I mean? Like how, Christian rock didn't make being Christian cool, it made rock lame, like that, but it's like a psyop, where they're like, well, less people will be into the devil if we just say all these lame things are satanic going on in the Super Bowl, which is like notoriously everyone, even people that like football again, are usually like, yeah, the Super Bowl is usually kind of boring. Although this one, I don't know, they were like tied up most of the game. Some guy, the first point that got scored, some dude kicked a field goal that was like a world record or something. It was like 53 or 5 yards or something. Like apparently no one's ever done that before. And I was like, oh, well, is this exciting to nobody? But I know what it is. It's like, well, whoever that was, I was like, yeah, but it wasn't somebody's favorite guy, or it wasn't like somebody on the pack, because that's the thing. It just matters ever so much who's who running around in different colored clothing, even though they trade them around and stuff too. So you're essentially cheering for laundry. But fine, you got to put something where a personality would normally be, and football is probably better than a lot of things, so I'm for it. But I just, what would it? I want to stick on this conspiracy theory that I'm making up right now about, oh yeah, they're trying to make Satan lame. That would almost be something someone would try to do, and it would have no point because no one cares about Satan. Like there's like all this like weird noise about like, oh, people just want to like live how they want to live and don't want to like follow the oppressive rules of some sort of like Christian nationalist regime or whatever. Probably because they're like super into like the devil or whatever. And it's like, yeah, or they're not, and they just want to be like left alone. I mean, I'm only like into the devil because it upsets those people, and I feel like they're bad people who are easy to upset, and I'm been known to be a quick-witted guy that doesn't fear much for consequences, and so it's kind of falls on me to antagonize them a little bit, and you invoke the name of Lucifer, and people get a little antsy in the pantsy. It's fine. And it's a fun trick. It's a little political theater. People are like you're in league with the devil, and rather than going like, no, and they're like, yes, and then it's their whole job to like prove you'd be like, I am in league with the devil, and I'm going to put a curse on your penis. It's gonna get hard when you see a man. Oh, it already does. Isn't that the thing? Well, this has been Reverend John Wheeler's Super Bowl recap. I don't remember who was playing who. I feel like the 49ers were one of them. Yeah. And then they're from San Francisco. Okay, yeah. It was the San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Which also, interestingly, there's been nothing. I mean, it's not like being the Redskins. That's pretty wild. But still, like the Chiefs, it's like, how do they weasel out of like, I'd be lying if I said that I cared about any of that, but I know that polite society does, and I kind of prefer to live in a polite society, so I'm like, well, maybe not having a drawing of a Native American with a bright red face on your shirt is maybe sort of screwed up, because, like, we killed them all and whatever, like, that's not cool. But the Chiefs, there's like an arrowhead in their thing. It's like, well, no, we're talking about Chief, like the chief engineer, or hail to the chief, we're the Chiefs. It's like, yeah, no, you're not. You're fucking, you're talking about indigenous American chiefs. That's what you're doing. But no one cares. And they also always win the Super Bowl, I guess. And the dude's like banging Taylor Swift or whatever. So, I mean, maybe they did make a deal with the devil, but well, good for them. Once again, like, if you actually like find yourself at that crossroads in Mississippi, at this point, don't ask to be the best guitar player in the world, because some 5-year-old Asian kid on YouTube is going to be better than you anyways. And you're never going to make any money doing it or whatever. So just be like, yeah, I want to win the Super Bowl and like bang like a fucking billionaire fucking pop star who chugs beer and her friends all throw up the Satan horns at the game or whatever. And like, John Wheeler won't ever remember what your name is, but that's not important, because you're just going to be, crying in your limo while Taylor Swift pegs you or whatever. You just live your goddamn dream. And it's all like anything good that ever does happen to anyone, thanks to Satan.
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you, and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night, and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.